The debate on autism rages on, but here are some facts that you need to know. As this continues to envelop everybody on both sides of the fence, there's great concern from people who understand the problem, who are affected and are autistic or know people that are, and then there's people who genuinely want to see a cure. Here's the problem with that. Sometimes when we want to see things cured, we tend to take measures without always understanding. That's why we have to have conversations that are meaningful so that we can come away with a better understanding to actually make progress on something. One is the fact that autism doesn't need to be cured because it's not a disease. We have to begin to recognize that. When we do, it stops becoming a stigmatized word and we start actually being able to get to better outcomes for individuals, because at the end of the day, that's what we are individuals, each you and I. They're a different kind of a mind makeup. That means that they're also going to exhibit problems and situations and health outcomes a little bit differently. So when we see these things, what we've got to situate the argument around, and why we're talking about this, is so that you and I can make sure we frame this discussion better, so that when we have this conversation next time, it doesn't have to result in saying, you've got to be cured, or on the other hand, they're trying to kill us all, but actually to make something meaningful. We've got to start addressing underlying issues in the scientific community. We haven't done that. And always the answer to something isn't another pill. We've got to start getting to the root of problems. And my concern is that we keep talking about things without actually wishing to get to the bottom line. That's something that has been vastly overlooked with those who have sought cures. Where the argument tends to have now settled is around this point that vaccines cause autism. Here's the thing we need to remember. Again, autism isn't something that's caused or something that needs to be cured. It's simply a different neurotype. It's a different kind of formation of the mind. It's neurodivergent, meaning that again, it's not caused by something. But where vaccines does have a great point, and why I have been supportive of methods and measures taken by folks like Secretary Kennedy, isn't to say that I agree with everything that anybody does, but rather these are meaningful strides if we can actually make outcomes better for people. That's why we need to have these conversations. Vaccines, while not causing autism, which is a key point, are exacerbating symptoms within patients who have autism, just as they can in patients who may not have autism. Sometimes bad vaccines, again, not all vaccines are bad, but sometimes poor vaccines can exacerbate underlying health issues, which is why that we're often warned not to get them if we have underlying health issues in patients that have autism, which again exacerbate these problems which we wish to solve, which we do wish to cure. So when we hear about curing autism, we need to know within ourselves what that means. Autism isn't something that needs to be cured out of an individual, because that wouldn't be the same person anymore. However, if you have people that are really suffering, they're nonverbal, they can't function with the way that they would like to, they have major issues. Those are things that no parent, no child, no person wants to live with, and we need to get to the bottom of it. One of the places we find that, again, is not only in the things that we eat, but in the medicines that we use, found also in vaccines. What we've got to get to is this fact. Whether you're autistic or whether you're not, we got to stop putting toxins in people's bodies. And when we understand that, we understand it like this. Everybody can get sick. Not just people with autism, not just, as they say, normal people, but everybody gets sick. Sometimes people get sick in different ways. You know that to be true in your own life. So what do we know? Instead of starting this road that we all too often can go down, of saying this is bad and just putting a quick label on it, maybe we start actually seeking what makes things happen the way that they do. And maybe the answer is we shouldn't put as many toxins in our body as we've allowed society to start doing. When we look at things about we didn't see cases like this before, or we didn't see problems in diabetes the way that we do now, or we didn't see obesity in the way that we do now, we start noticing an actual hard line that things did start to happen worse when we started to put more artificial things in our bodies, when we started to have more toxins introduced in our environments. That doesn't mean, though, that these things are problems that have been caused. It just means they've been exacerbated. So we've got to do a better job at actually understanding what we're talking about. And that's why we have these conversations. If we don't have meaningful conversations in a civil tone with people about these problems, they might have to seek answers from people who are actually wishing to harm others, be that directly or because they don't care as much. You have to remember sometimes these situations are, how can we sell more product? How can we stigmatize somebody to marginalize them and make a profit off of that? That's not our interest. So we can't shy away from this fight. We got to step into it, do it with love, do it with understanding, and when we've got to, we have these conversations. Everybody can get sick, not just autistic people. A 2013 meta-study proved that folks with MTHFR, which what that means is just a person who does not methylate certain types of toxins or medications as effectively as typical individuals, can be poorly affected by vaccines. And while we see MTHFR as a situation to be dealt with in the non-autistic populations, it is something that we find is linked between autistic people who have had vaccines and have exacerbated issues afterwards. Here's what we know. This is a debate that has to be settled. But what we can't do is have conversations without knowing what we're talking about. It's my prayer sincerely that we can come to an actual answer to making sure that people who are both neurotypical and neurodivergent can actually live a life that doesn't stigmatize them for being different, but make sure that they can be healthy at the same time. God bless you, and may God bless America.